Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Millennial Investments. Tim here again. Today, the market being closed for President's Day. Once again, happy President's Day to everybody out there. I hope you're enjoying the holiday. But with it being President's Day, the market is closed today, so we thought what's better to do than review some trades and review it with everyone else. So we're going to be looking at a few different trades today. Some of those being ZOM, BGI, NXTD, Plug or PLUG, DPW, and IDEX. This is all based on member requests that were not able to attend our coffee and stock session earlier this morning. They wanted to have a review. We don't currently have any alerts on these that I'm aware of. I don't think so. Let me double check with NXTD. That looks something familiar. Nope. What about IDEX? Nope. So we don't currently have any positions or alerts on this. But the members requested that we review them and just kind of identify some levels of support and resistance to kind of know what to look for going into next week. And that's what we'll be doing here today. So to get straight to it, we're going to be looking at ZOM first. I know I have BGI pulled up, but let me move it over. I was kind of doing some pre-analysis. And I already have my previous analysis on ZOM. First, we're going to start by identifying our previous levels of resistance to kind of illustrate how this breakout initially worked out to reach the price levels that it did. As you can see, it hit 148 back here in on January 12th, found some resistance and consolidated after finding some support, where it was able to retest those 148s over the course of the 4th and 5th, and initially potentially broke out into the end of the 5th. The trading session on the 5th, excuse me. It opened up the pre-market the next day, or the next Monday actually, with a gap up to the 219, where it then retested these 291 price levels, found some strong resistance. As you can see, it's retested it twice since then and consolidated. Most would be concerned that this is coming down. There are some levels that I would like to identify to give you some confidence that the trade can continue moving forward. So we're going to do that by looking closer into the trade on the 1 hour time frame. And the first thing that pops out to me is the 212 price levels, where the stock initially gapped up, broke out to the 291, consolidated, and gapped down, did a backfill or a gap fill to the 212 and found support before continuing moving higher to retest those 291s. So currently, we were looking to see if there was potentially another pullback before the stock could continue moving higher. And you can definitely identify some of those with some of our trend analysis that we use here at Millennial Investments. Initially, we thought that this was going to retrace back to the 148 until we looked a little bit closer into the stock at the 212 is where we found new support. But as you can see, we are seeing strong selling spikes. But for the stock to hold up as well as it is, even with those selling spikes, we're seeing some consolidation on the end here for the EMA, which typically identifies that the stock could potentially continue moving higher going into the next trading sessions throughout this week. Although it's a short week, this could perform pretty well. And to identify our potential bull flag, I'll set that there on the 1 hour and pull it back to the 4, and you can see that's what we're currently forming, which also gives us the idea that with the EMAs currently plateauing, we can do one of two things. We can break out of this trend, or we can break down and retrace to the 212s down here, which is fine. Pull back. If it pulls back to the 212s, that's okay. That just means it's a better entry point for people who aren't currently in the trade or may have missed the opportunity to get in there at a nice price point when it originally hit 212 on the retracement. But we will be looking for an area of entry ourselves around the 211, and we'll be providing a trade alert on the stock if it does do so. From a long-term perspective, I do want to identify that these 291 price levels were recently an issue before, and the fact that we are retesting them now as strong as we are could mean that we could break above that and then potentially find some support above the 291 to continue moving even higher on the trade. As far as fundamentals go, I will be looking that up in just a second to help some of our longer term investors depict a futuristic outlook on the stock and what holding the stock would look like. So currently ZOM does not provide fundamentals on Thinkorswim. So typically when we have that issue, we kind of come down here and look in TV to find that information as much as we can, although it doesn't show all the information that Thinkorswim does. So currently what we're looking at here is the balance sheet. They currently have 56 million in assets compared to 1.3 in debt, giving it a 25% ratio assets to debt, which is great. Net debt is negative 50 million. It's looking pretty good. Let's look at our income statement. Annual revenues not being reported for some reason. It's negative 20 million on income, and gross profits is showing negative 123. But for the year, negative 787,000. So, and that's the fiscal year, by the way. EPS is down year over year, negative 19 cents a share. That's something to pay attention to long term. Maybe if the stock is able to continue moving higher, you can expect the company to do a stock offering in order to capture some of that liquidity that's going into the trades in order to boost their balance sheet, which is always expected and great, and also provides an additional entry for new investors that are late to the party, I guess you can say. We typically don't alert on stocks that trade this high unless we're able to confirm a new level of support that's pretty strong, allowing for the stock to retest its previous level of resistance, which this has. So this is what's giving us the confidence going into the trade. So keep an eye on it going into Tuesday's trading session. But our next stock that we wanted to bring up, well, our members requested, is BGI. BGI will get started by looking on the 4-hour time frame first and going in to identify our levels of resistance that it has since broken and found new support above. That is always our first step here at Millennial Investments, and as you can see, the 147 is one that stands out very well for the simple fact that it tested those levels in October of 2020 and then once again in January of 2021, and then once we finally retested it again, the momentum was pushing into the stock, allowing for it to find support here at the 122 before breaking out above the 147, and then initially giving this strong breakout that we're looking at here. Another level we want to identify, I know that the stock hit up here at the 370.67, but if you look here, you can identify that it is finding hard resistance at the 273. I'm sorry. So that's a level we want to identify. We'll call that our mid resistance level, as the stock has shown potential to go to the 366 up here. And so what we're looking for is to make sure that the stock on the 1 hour is showing the momentum to re-break those 273 price levels again, and then find support above it in order to continue moving to the 366. We actually did some calculations on this already. If it does break above the 273, then we're looking at we're looking at 34% on the trade potential if it begins trading it within this range here and retesting those 366 price levels. Nice trade. If you look back further, even on the time frame, the 273 is another key level of resistance in previous or historical charting on the trade. And then of course there's there's something else we want to identify here as well, based on that information. Our next level beyond the 366 that it's currently found in resistance is the 515. So 515 on this trade will currently provide us with an 89% return on the investment if we're able to break above the 273 here and then find support above the 273 to retest that 366 and then break through those levels as well. Then we are going to those $5 price ranges. That's basically where I'm going to stop that on the trade analysis, or the trend analysis, excuse me. From a fundamental standpoint, the company is not reporting anything quarter over quarter to give you a shorter term, outlook on how the company is performing. But from a year over year standpoint, the stock is currently, or the company is showing 48% growth in EPS, as well as 64% in net profit margins, along with 122% in operating profit margins. So as far as year over year, the stock is showing positive growth. We're still negative EPS at this time though. So going into 2021, we can expect this to be green EPS. As far as net profit margins, looking at it, we're still in a negative state, but we can expect this to at least be net positive going into 2022. So that's a longer term 2-year hold if you're expecting the company to go green and then be very advantageous, unless anything comes out of BGI that serves as a catalyst to push this company forward. Any mergers, any new releases on the company. BGI is a Canadian-based company engaged in designing, developing, making, and retail of jewelry, which we've seen the consumer discretionary markets actually trending very well over the past few weeks due to retail investment and the whole short squeeze movement that was going on. So anyways, moving forward, that's our price levels to pay attention to here with BGI. Moving forward to NXTD, we haven't done any pre-analysis on this. I think we did previously, as far as I can see, we have the fib chart here, so I guess we did do some. I don't think I gotten very in-depth with it as I would like to. One thing that I would like to point out about it is this 211 level of resistance that was defined back in December 17th. We were probably looking at it at or around that time before. And as you can see, the stock hit that resistance level a few times before consolidating and finding some strong support here around the 112 levels, which allowed it to continue to retest it for a second and or a third and fourth time, actually breaking above it, but not finding the support it needs to stay above it. Although we did find support right below it, allowing it to sit right there at that level. So we're looking at this to open up tomorrow's pre-market session, possibly gapping up here to the 230s, and then potentially pulling back in the market open. It's something that is not untypical to see, and it's okay as long as we find support above those 211s. We'll be okay going into the trading session for the rest of the week. If we do move beyond those levels, then we will be looking at, let's see, and the stock is actually far down. I would like to know an explanation of what brought the stock down to these levels to begin with. That's the first place I would look. But going forward, our next levels of resistance that do stand out very strong is the 549 price levels, as well as the 334. So if you were to get into the stock right now, it's sitting at 190. Moving forward, let's see, we are currently looking at retesting the 334. That could potentially provide us with a 76% profit gain on the trade if we're able to break above the 211 and find support. So let's look forward to gap up opening pre-market session Tuesday, pull back a little bit. We might gap up to the 230s, something small, but then pull back to the 211, find that support, and then bounce upwards to that 334 price level. And then if we pass beyond that and find strong support, or if we're just straight up, then I would expect more resistance at that 549 price level, which would provide you with an actual 189% on the trade. So I'm not necessarily saying buy this right now just because it's looking great. I'm not saying that it's just going to be some stunning or outrageous, but these are things to identify going into the trade moving forward. As far as the company performance long term, let's take a look at the fundamentals now. Year over year, we're looking good on EPS for 41% growth, and net profit margins, unfortunately, is down 40% though year over year, with operating profit margin though being up 77% respectfully. Looking at it quarter over quarter to get a shorter term outlook on the stock, it's actually down negative 29%. So if anything, we're looking at this from a swing trade standpoint, unless the company in the process of this swing trade provides us with any information to say, yes, hold this longer term. We don't see anything right now that just stands out from the fundamentals. That's from the fundamentals only. Although looking at the news for the company, they did reduce term debt by $5 million. I'm not seeing too much that are really standing out in their news selection. Let's see. Just the fact that they reiterated the $5,000 term debt. Report sales back on the 25th. I'd really have to go into this for DD. They regained compliance with the NASDAQ, which is always great on the 5th of January. which is good. That is vital to a company. Some companies I've seen mismanaged so terribly they've had to do a stock split just to become compliant again. And I really don't think they're worth the value they hold. But with this one, let's just see how we go into Tuesday before we speculate any further on it, and try to make any calls. But those are the price levels I want to identify, and that's what this is all about. So just watch for those price levels going into Tuesday's trading session, market open, and then make your decision for an entry there. If it hits those 211s, then I would say we'll go green on it. And then if it doesn't, then we're consolidating to the 113, and that's okay. As long as we find that support at the 113, it just provides us with a better entry on the stock. I'm not saying it's a bad stock if it does. I'm not saying that it's going to stay above those 211s or the 113, but just things to look out for moving forward. Looking at our next stock is Plug. Plug is outperforming, as most people know, and this is based off another member's request as well that I want to look at. I'm gonna get into the fundamentals on this trade first, so we can understand why the company is outperforming so well. And looking at the stock, EPS is down actually close to 1% year over year. But even with that being said, the net profit margin is up 20% year over year, with a operating profit margin of 83% and gross profit margin of 87%. So revenue is on an uptrend, with the current 63 basis points above the 5-year average of 29 basis points and 3-year average of 38. So we're doing well on revenue. I would look more into what debt the company has and determining the ratio there. I'm not really long-term debt to company is down 42%. Actually, just looking over the fundamentals a little bit more, they're not currently providing a dividend. Let's see what else stands out to me. Return on assets is up 98% year over year, and return on equity is up 129% respectively. So and also sales per share is up 18%, near 18% highs. On a quarter-to-quarter basis, though, we're down 74% EPS. Sales per share is not reported. Return on equity is up 134, and return ROA is up 8%, with a negative 965% NPM. So these are things to watch out for. Although the growth rates are showing very well, just to give you an idea of what Plug is, it's a provider of alternative energy technology focused on the design, development, commercialization, and manufacture of hydrogen fuel cell systems used for the industrial off-road market and stationary power market. And so if we want to get into the chart here to kind of identify, potential entry levels in the stock, or our key levels here, one thing that stands out to me right here is the $37 price range. I'm going to actually go back so that we can define our price ranges on the low side, and then we can use that information to basically determine how the stock can operate moving forward. Of course, all trades are not guaranteed to move based on previous price history or trend analysis, but we still like to use it as a referral in what we're looking for moving forward. So the next level that I would like to identify, and let me help you out by making this a little bit easier, is the $60 price level, and that is a new level of support. I'm going to turn this previous one blue because it was a reversal of the resistance to support, which allowed the stock to break out to begin with. I didn't mean to zoom in there, I'm sorry. Going into it a little bit more, let's identify the 73. So now we're in a sideways channel, parallel channel is what I like to call them. We're trading to the low side, and we can look forward to making sure that this stays above the $60 price range. If it does, then we're more likely to hit the 73 once again to retest it. Of course, I don't think this stock has ever traded at this price range before. If we go back and look, oh yes, it did actually. And as you see, the $73 was once a very important level of resistance back in 2004. Let's go look at how we managed around those time frames. Yeah, it looked like we found resistance there, and ever since we found that resistance, it's been in a downtrend. But of course, the company has worked well to reverse its price action in the stock. and bring it back to the $73 price ranges. So it's not new to this. Maybe we can see a reversal going into this moving forward. Let's look at it from the 1 hour just to kind of define this even more, and then I'll bring in my indicators to kind of see where we're at on the EMAs. This is showing signs of a pullback to the 60 based on what I'm looking at here, and then the selling volume that I'm seeing. We're having some strong spikes here, which is what brought it down to begin with, and showing this downward trend. We're looking for this to retest the 60 and see if we find support there, and that'll determine the future for this stock and its direction. So a key level to going into the next week based on how that performs, and if it breaks below that, I mean, we have a smaller level of support to look at, the $57, and then beyond that we're looking at the 49. So that kind of gives us our price ranges there moving forward. Even if we wanted to move this out, we can see this retest to 60. If it comes below it, then we could potentially retest the 49. Of course, there is some wide price range price action right here that could be backfilled due to that, but I would look into our volume profile to kind of confirm where we can find a strong point of pullback, and it might hit this $49 level and then bounce down to this 47 before retracing and going back to the upside above the 49 and finding support, and then trading above the $49 to $60 price range. So that's my estimate on it. That's what I'm looking at going into Monday. I'm going to keep this on our watch list so we can, find a potential entry. I believe they should. They should have some monthly options in here that you could potentially buy. If it breaks below that 60, then I would potentially look at getting an option put on this for the $45 price range to $47 price range, which if you look at the March 19th options, is about anywhere from 123 to 150 currently. And that could change based on how pre-market and market open action shifts going into Tuesday, but you can look at $123 to $157 on the option contract. You will get a delta of $10 per dollar it goes down. Of course, that would come down somewhere near $15. So you're looking at least $150 in profit potential that you can use to then buy shares in the stock for a longer term hold. That's a strategy we're going to be testing. We're not suggesting that for anybody else. But for every dollar it goes down, you're looking at an additional 6 cents on the gamma. I mean, no, that's the theta. Excuse me. Let me add my gamma in here and kind of define that a little bit more. I think I was doing analysis on our coffee and stocks without my gamma in there, and that makes a large difference when you're referring to options here. So let me go ahead and add that and make sure we keep it in there moving forward. So gamma is real short. The actual option contract is 32 days out. So gamma is going to be short unless we see some strong price action. If we come within gamma, it's every $2. Every dollar goes down, the delta adds $2 to it. So we could be looking at a delta of $37 for every dollar below $47. So we'll get more into the options. I'm not gonna spread this out too long, but trying to teach you options and how to trade them. We'll dedicate a video for that. But going into this, that's what I'm looking for, is if we can hold above those $60 levels of support, and if we don't, then we're going back to retest the 49 and potentially even the 40. Let me identify that for us right now. The 46.30, and I'm going to turn that green so we can know it's our option. Or no, I'm going to turn it purple. So that's our option strike target. It's $46, which you can actually buy that for $148 right now, and have a $12 per dollar drop off of it. So that looks pretty nice going into this week for potential option put on it for the consolidation. I'm not saying it's going to go down, but if it does, we can make money on the way down to then use that free cash to find free shares and an equity stake of this company to allow it to continue to the upside unless it just continues dropping. Of course, ride it until it drops all the way to its bottom and you see a reversal occurring. Make sure that you confirm that reversal on all the time frames that you can before saying, okay, now it's time to make that equity stake. But that's enough for this one. That's our price targets for it, and that's what we're looking at. The next one is one that has been spoken of very highly, DPW. Apparently, this is a EV play along with a crypto mining company, I assume, but it's basically a Bitcoin play. We actually alerted on the stock a while back and it didn't perform, but of course it is now. How ironic. Which, no harm, no foul, not worried about it. We trade stocks all day, we make money. We're right sometimes, we're wrong sometimes, and that's cool. Looking at this from the 4 hour, I think I'm going to need to do this from the daily actually. To just better identify some levels. And instead of using this last level of resistance, I think it'll be easier to kind of define it here at the 638. 638 is a key level of resistance. And then, of course, let me remove some of my indicators here and identify that that is our new level of support. So I'm going to turn that green. I'm going to turn this orange because this is our high level of resistance. And that sits at the 1094. And this is our low point level of support is what we're going to use in this because of the fact that it was previously a level of resistance pretty strongly here. As you can see, the stock tried trading above it, but had some issues going up and down above it. Was resistance here before gapping up and then finding support. So that's why we're identifying that as that lower level of support. Anyways, so let's look at it from the 1 hour and see how our price action is occurring. In theory, this, if you were to use a diagonal trend line just to identify a subtrend, that's fine. We are in what you would call an ascending wedge, and what that means is we're currently compressing based on this horizontal price level here, and we could probably retest those 638s before bouncing below and bounce out, or we can retest the 638 and just go. So that's two different ways to look at it. Or we can break the current trend here that we see and break back down to the 356. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but these are things that I'm going to be looking for going into this trading session to identify my trade and position. For our longer term investors, let's look at some fundamentals on the business real quick. I forgot to do that earlier. This company is crazy on EPS. The EPS is currently up 38,739% year over year. Although the net profit margin is only negative 5%, or 438 to be exact, with a gross profit margin of 8.16% positive year over year and operating profit margin of negative 12.55%. So some strange fundamentals here. I'd like to go in and define why. Our revenue growth rates are currently negative 7 basis points, which is well over 58 basis points on our 3-year average, and then we're short negative 31 basis points on our 5-year average. So I would definitely go into looking at why the fundamentals are looking like this, why we have a balance sheet like this. But let's look at it from a closer time frame. If we look at the EPS quarter over quarter, we're down negative 83%. And then the net profit margin is actually down negative 91%. So these are concerns that I would look at for a longer term investment. Basically on a swing trade, it looks like it's good and ready to go to retest those 638s and then eventually, begin trading within that 1094 price level. Of course, the stock actually has not, this isn't the first time the stock has met these levels. That I think somebody said to ignore the fact that it was once $5,000, $4,000 a share. This was probably when it first started. Didn't have a lot of float in the market. There's a multitude of reasons I'm not going to go into within this video, so we can continue moving forward. But all I know is what I'm looking at right now and the forecast moving forward. We are currently seeing if we will bounce down a little bit for a potential entry on the support level of the trend line, or even the close from Thursday at the 498 for a potential entry. It looks like they have some options in here, which I wouldn't mind calling with the high volatility and price action that it has and the range in price action that it has. I could look at something to the nature of potentially June. Let's see where our our trend line is showing us headed into June. Let's bring this down here. Going into June, it's saying we could potentially be beyond that $10 unless we break that, or unless we have a straight shot up. So either we're going to break this trend line and start trending here, we're going to break down and retest the 356, or we're just going to gap straight up like it did here. And I'm pretty sure this was based off news, which is back in November 24th. I'd have to go do some thorough research on figuring out what that kick out was back there in November. But I'm looking at potentially, I'm not seeing too much option trading in this stock though. And that's concerning because I need something to fill my order. I see some 7.5 calls. I'd be comfortable with that. But that's mid-March, and that's very comfortable levels. Beyond that though, there's not many people actually looking at this from a long-term perspective. I would like to keep that in mind too. But I'm all for, this breaking out above the 638 and finding support above those levels to then retest the 1094. If you want to get a margin for profits on that, let's see, if we break above, if we were to get in right now and it were to break above 638, I mean, we're still looking at some gains. Let me rephrase that. If you buy in now, hit 638, find some resistance, you're still getting 14% on the trade. If it goes above that, and say, let's use these levels here, at the 686 levels, we're looking at 23%. But if we can bounce and hit $10, then you're almost near 96% on the trade, which I have faith that it can go that direction, with it being an EV play and a Bitcoin play, and Bitcoin doing very well, which I'm not really sure. Let's have a look where Bitcoin is today. Haven't been paying attention to crypto as we've been focused on the markets. We're currently sitting at 48,000. A lot of people have predictions that we're going to 50K. So the higher it goes up, I'm sure the higher DPW will ride along with it. And the further along we get in the Biden administration, the further along DPW will go on the EV play. I would like to know if somebody can correct me. It's a diversified holding company which is engaged in acquiring undervalued assets and technologies through subsidiaries and strategic investments, provides products that support a diverse range. So it's just a holdings company, but that includes defense, aerospace, industrial, telecommunications, medical, and textiles. And then it lists the companies that it holds, and then trying to see, there's nothing that really just stands out there. But from what my fellow member was telling me, this is currently an EV play based on, I'm guessing, one of its subsidiaries, and it's a Bitcoin play, same bet based off a subsidiary. But as far as just trend analysis, I'm pretty comfortable with the continuation pattern that is currently following in. Let's look for those levels moving into Tuesday's trade. All right, our last trade for this session is going to be IDEX. This is another member-based request for review. And let's get started by identifying our initial levels first. One that stands out is the close, the 471 levels. And it looks like we found previous strong resistance there where it caused the stock to consolidate completely. It consolidated back down to these price levels. I'll stick it here at the 177 before falling into this uptrend. Question about the uptrend is what caused it to break it. The current trend that it was in. Let's do it like this. Or did it even break it? Okay, so we're following right along it. Actually, we can actually create a channel on this diagonal trend, and I'm only doing this for the benefit of seeing the current channel that's trending in. But of course, I'm going to be basing my trade off of merely the horizontal price ranges that it's trading in. So to the upside of that channel, though, if that's what you're basing your trade off of, we're looking pretty healthy to the upside. Potentially to 644s by mid or end of February. But if you base it off of a horizontal price range that it's currently trading in, let's let's go further back to identify more key levels here. And as you can see, things that stand out are somewhere right around here, which is the 555 or 550 price levels that it's had troubles going above and staying above at the same time. We can even go deeper back into this trade, all the way back to 2000 and 1999. But anyways, I'm gonna go back to the daily because of the price action being so crazy there. It's kind of weird. Let's see if we can identify anything else. I mean, it's pretty strong on the price level that it's trading on. I would actually remove this and put it here for the simple fact of this 474 is inferior to this 549 price level because of the amount of resistance we found at those levels before. Let's see what this looks like. Just to kind of identify, you can move this around to see how many times price action has hit these numbers and find that sweet spot. But I'm pretty comfortable with it sitting at the 402 price level to see if we find some resistance there. Support there moving forward. If it were to retrace at all, that'd be a key level in my book to watch for before determining a continued trade. It looks like we were able to find some strong support here. Let's bring it down a little bit to the 388. So let's say the 388 is what we're going to focus on because of the fact that it once was resistance here that brought it back down. It retested it again, and then we found support along those same price levels before breaking out to this 550 level, and then now we're currently retracing. If we bring our indicators in here, we can see that the EMA is showing a downward spiral moving forward. So if we do retrace, then yeah, the 388 is the level to keep an eye on to determine if, all right, we're going to reverse and bounce back up to the 550 off those levels, or we're going to bounce down. And if we bounce up, then we're looking at a potential 71% on the trade, which is not bad at all. So good suggestion on IDEX. Pretty confident in it, finding that support above the 388. I'm by no means saying this is coming down any further than where it's at or that it won't continue moving higher. We found some strong transactional buying here at the 360s too, so that's a second support level I would watch beyond the 388. As you can see here too, if you were to place this right there, it's not far above the 360s. So if it pulls back, I'm sure it'll hit the 363 before finding support above the 388, depending on how hard the retracement is. Okay, I hope that makes sense and I'm not confusing anybody. But that's what I'm looking for, or what I would be looking for getting into the trade, and then my price target being 550 again to retest that, finding that the stock had all this strong buying spikes all the way leading up to this and building this strong momentum to the upside, to only be rejected and forced back down on a pullback. But the pullback being small, allowing it to hit the 390 low, 388 levels, like I said before, and then reversing back to the upside. So that's it for right now. That's the trades we have. If you have any questions about any other stocks, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Also, if this is your first time viewing our channel, feel free to like and subscribe, as well as share the video with other people, as well as hit that notification bell to be notified about future daily free trade alerts and daily reviews such as this one. If you haven't already, please look in the description below for links to all of our social network platforms in order to connect with us directly and discuss trades one-on-one if you would like, or as part of a group. We have Facebook group chats, we have Discord chat servers that we use. You can find our Discord, which is Investors Talk. It's one of our partner companies that we work with directly. You can learn a lot of things in Investors Talk. They also have a Facebook group if you're more familiar and comfortable with being on Facebook, or you're just not on Discord. We're also on Twitter and StockTwits, as well as you can see here, TradingView. So wherever you would want to find us, feel free to connect with us. If you have any trades you want to review, feel free to let me know. I will review them, but I will also create a YouTube video for them individually so that all of our other members can see that information as well. Other than that, market's closed. I didn't think of anything better to do than to review some stocks going into the trading session tomorrow. It's currently 3:30 here. 3:38 Central. We would be 39 minutes past market close, so that is my cue to call it a day. And get ready for tomorrow, and I'm ready for it with it being a short week. I'm gonna look to make some quick gains, and then all the current trades we're looking at or positioned to make larger gains in the longer run, rather, and let it ride, man. Be sure to check our coffee and stocks session that we had this morning as well, with some of the stocks that we reviewed on there based on our users' requests, our members' requests. And we also do coffee and stocks every Saturday to recap on the week and discuss trades that people want to bring up or have questions about or just want a second opinion about. I mean, two heads are better than one, and nobody's more of a genius than anybody else, I don't believe. Of course, other people may, not agree with that, but I'm not really worried about that. Other than that, man, feel free to register your free premium membership at Millennial Investments by clicking the link in the description below as well, in order to join our social investor network at Millennial Investments, where we basically provide a safe and secure home for all investors and traders alike to share, discuss trades. We just released our due diligence database in order for you to store information and log DD that you discover about particular trades or companies that you would also like to share with other members that they can refer to when placing an investment themselves. We also have a premium trade tracker for our premium memberships, and then of course our premium trade alerts that we release and are unlimited to our premium memberships. You can try that as a new member for $10 for 7 days before buying into our full membership, just to make sure it's something that fits your needs in investing. If you're new to it, that's what it's for, is to assist you and then also walk you through the training process, such as videos such as this one, to help you become a better trader and investor yourself. Other than that, like I said, you have any questions, you like the video, feel free to hit the like button. If you have any questions, hit the comments. If you like the video overall and want to share this information, feel free to share it. But be sure to hit that notification bell in order to receive notifications about videos like this. Other than that, man, y'all have a good day, good night. For those that it's already nighttime and going in tomorrow, good luck trading. Be smart. Make sure you make sound decisions and do your research, trend analysis, check the fundamentals always. 3 key things: find your key levels of resistance, your levels of support to identify your price ranges that you're trading in, and then you can better find entries and exit strategies out of these trades. Other than that, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Peace.